So I just got off of a Zoom call with a client, which explains why I am business on top and quarantine casual on the bottom. Like the rest of you, I've been stuck in my house for the last 30 days. I've eaten all my quarantine snacks and I'm starting to feel a little bit like Regina George.
These sweatpants are all that fits me right now.
Been getting a lot of the same questions lately, basically about how the Chicago real estate market has been reacting since the shelter in place took effect. And I thought it would be helpful just to make this video giving you my take on what I'm seeing in the market and any advice that I would have for people who are looking to buy or sell a home right now. So I hope you get some value from this. This year, the spring market started off red hot. Myself, along with a lot of my colleagues, thought that this was going to be the best spring market that we've seen in years. Sales were up about 6% year over year. We actually saw pricing increase, which is rare in our market, and things were going great. Then the shelter in place obviously brought that to a screeching halt. March and April are typically the busiest months of the year in Chicago real estate, both in terms of new listings and sales. On average, the amount of homes that come on the market from March into early April jump about 62%. This year, new home listings are down 38% year over year and have dipped by 19% since March 1st. Obviously, buyer activity has also been impacted by the shelter in place. By looking at my own listings, if I had to put a number on it, I would estimate that showings are down about 80% overall this year.
Where did you get these facts?
Are these facts scaring you or are they not?
But don't let those numbers scare you. There is some good news. I've been noticing that buyer activity and showings has been steadily picking up week over week. Now, they're nowhere near their pre-shelter in place numbers and nowhere close to where they are normally this time of year, but they are slowly increasing, which is a good sign of buyer demand. The other thing is, there is very low inventory. Now, this is speaking generally. There might be some markets where there's actually an abundance of inventory, but overall, inventory is very low. At the beginning of March, the amount of temporary listings was about 2,500. What those are listings that are temporarily delisted. At the end of March, that number had jumped to about 5,000 and has been steadily increasing week over week. In addition to low inventory, on April 3rd, the Illinois Association of Realtors announced that as part of our being an essential service, we are no longer allowed to show tenant-occupied properties. What does that mean? Tenant-occupied properties make up a pretty healthy percentage of available inventory. So what I'm seeing right now is while there's not a lot of buyers out there, there's not a lot of available inventory. So the few buyers that are active right now don't have a lot to look at. So if you are able to list your home right now, price it attractively, make sure that it shows optimally, but also if you are able to allow in-person showings in your home, you're going to give yourself a significant advantage over your competition. Yes, we do virtual showings and virtual open houses. However, not just myself, but other brokers that I've spoken to in the market have noticed this, which is kind of obvious, is that no one's going to buy your home unless they can actually see it in person. So if you are looking to sell your home, again, price it attractively, make sure it shows optimally, but allow in-person listings, in-person showings, and you will give yourself a big leg up on your competition. The other thing that a lot of sellers are concerned about is becoming the dreaded stale listing if they decide to list right now and don't end up selling. My advice to you is if you need to sell or want to sell, go ahead and list. You can't score a touchdown if you're sitting on the bench. And if your home fails to sell in the next 30 to 60 days, there are a few things that you can do to help refresh your listing and make sure that it doesn't get stale. What I'm going to be doing with all of my listings that fail to sell during the shelter in place, once that gets lifted, is I'm going to cancel it, relist it, and what that does is it refreshes your listing on both the MLS and all the consumer sites. It sends out a brand new email campaign and puts your home back in front of buyers. The other thing is, buyers are no longer looking at that metric, nor are brokers. Nobody is going to be looking at your home in June or July or August, whenever this ends, and say, why was that home on the market for 75 days? No one's gonna question that. Everybody's gonna remember they couldn't leave their home for 60 days or 30 days is what we're hoping. When it comes to buying a home, I think you should really look at your own situation and evaluate it for yourself. Ask yourself, what are your long-term job prospects? How confident are you in having a job long-term? I'm not just talking about being an essential employee. Everybody's one of those right now. But how confident are you at being employed long-term? The other thing I would encourage you to do is talk to a local lender and have them evaluate your situation, and that way they can recommend the best loan program for you in your unique situation. Right now, a lot of the big banks like Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they're seeing what's going on in the economy just like everybody else. So they're starting to tighten their guidelines so that right now that they are requiring a 700 credit score and a larger down payment in order to qualify for a loan, which for a lot of people is not feasible. So talk to a local lender and really have them evaluate your situation and advise you in which way to go when it comes to obtaining a mortgage. Interest rates are historically low right now, so if you're looking to buy a home, you should probably take advantage of that. If I were looking to buy a home right now, here's what I would do. I would speak to a lender that would allow me to qualify for a program that would allow me to put down the lowest down payment possible. Then I would structure my purchase offer in such a way that I would have my seller pay my closing costs. The reason for this is pretty simple. It allows me to not have to take as much money out of my own pocket in order to buy my home, because at this time, with everything being very uncertain, I feel like cash on hand is very important. Now, the biggest misconception that I'm seeing in the market right now is because things are slow, that you automatically assume you're going to be able to buy the home of your dreams for pennies on the dollar. That's not simply the case. While there are some sellers out there that need to sell right now, they're under contract for their next home, they have a divorce, they have a job relocation, they have something that is urging them to sell, yes, they may be willing to take less than they normally would have in a normal spring market. However, most sellers right now are kind of in a wait and see holding pattern. They are going to see how this all transitions and how this blows over and see how the market reacts if they do not get an offer that they're happy with. But the good thing is, with what's going on right now, there are fewer buyers out there. We're seeing basically fall and winter levels of buyer demand, but in the spring market. So you essentially will be able to look for a home, not have as much competition, and while the chances are never absolutely zero of being in a multiple offer situation, you're very unlikely that it's going to happen this time of year. So I hope you found this helpful and somewhat valuable. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below, or if you just need somebody to talk you out of cutting your own hair, or you're just sick of talking to inanimate objects in your home,
Well done!
feel free to call, email, or text me.